Hello, friends and fashion lovers. You're welcome and thank you for clicking on this video. A special thanks to my subscribers, both old and new, and even you that is about to subscribe. If you are new here, please do well to subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you like what you see. I sew for babies and I sew for mothers too. Do well to check my other videos out. So here I am going to get started. You need your plain fabric and you need your zipper and you need your main fabric. I'm going to start with the drafting part. To draft, my back piece is on fold here and I'm marking out 1 inch as my zip allowance. I am drafting directly on the fabric and the front piece is on fold. I am placing it on the 1 inch mark, pinning it in place so that it stays put. I'm going to put in my measurement. I'm putting in half the shoulder measurement I'm working with. A shoulder measurement of 9 inches, half of it 4.5 plus half inch seaming allowance. The neck width I'm working with, half of it is 2.5 inches. Then the neck dip for the back, I am using 1 inch and for the front, I am using 2 inches. I'm going to square a line at this point so I'll be able to curve out my neck measurement like so. So I'm extending the back neckline out to the lining, a bit to the main fabric, the zipper area. So on my allowance, seaming allowance, I am going to put my other measurement. Half inch for the shoulder slope, 4.5 for the armhole. I'm going to connect the shoulder slope to the neckline like so. Next is to put in 1/4 of the chest measurement. 24 divided by 4 is 6 inches plus half inch seaming allowance. I am going to scale according to the marked measurements. To curve out the armhole, you need to find the center of the armhole line. Mark that out. For the back armhole, you just curve it as usual, as you would. For the front armhole, I am going to go in by half an inch at that center line and use my armhole curve to curve that back out. With the armhole out of the way, now I'm going to put in my bodice length. The length of the bodice I'm working with is 9 inches. And I'm going to put in half inch seaming allowance, so I will join my bodice to my skirt piece with half inch. I'm going to take a ruler and roll this out. So on my shoulder, I am going to add half inch seaming allowance. So at this point, one could say that my bodice is done and could cut, but there's something left. So to the side here, down here, I'm going to go up by half an inch I just like the way it makes the bodice to sit on the skirt. So you go up by half an inch and blend that to your bodice length and complete the side, connect the side. Then the bodice is ready for cutting. I'm cutting the back piece first. The back is ready. I'm taking out my pins, then time to cut the front. With my bodice ready, this is how it looks, two pieces. I'm using the same fabric for the main fabric and a lining. So the back is also ready. Now I'm going to cut the sleeve. To the sleeve, just going to simply fold over the sleeve. So just make it double with the lining of the sleeve. Find where I am starting my marking from, just like you would for a regular sleeve drafting. If you don't know how to draft a regular sleeve, please check out my other video on how to draft a sleeve. I have a video on how to draft a sleeve, you can check that out. So from your regular sleeve block, in case you have one, you can trace out your cap sleeve from there. So for the cap sleeve now, I want mine to be 3 inches because I want it quite short. So I'm marking 4 inches, 1 inch for the seaming allowance. So now the upper part, since it's 4 inches, that's 3 inches is what I want. The upper part, since I'll gather it up a bit, so I am going to leave it at the 5-inch mark. Then I'll curve it this way. Sure, it will be enough for me to gather to form a nice sleeve. So at this point, my cap sleeve is done. It's to cut it out. So it's time to sew. Gather your pieces, your front bodice, right sides together, lining to lining, main fabric to main fabric, and sew them at the shoulder. So after sewing at the shoulder, I am just identify which part is the wrong part for me. So open the shoulder seam, place your lining and your main fabric right sides together, mark out your zip allowance. For me it was 1 inch. Now sew your neckline from that 1 inch mark all the way. I am going to be piping my neckline, so I will go ahead and pipe it. So to the sleeve, right sides together. Now sew your sleeve. If you are going to be piping it like me, make sure you sandwich your piping strip in between and sew it. So now the neckline is ready. So go ahead and notch. Be careful not to cut the seam. Since I didn't place where my sleeve will sit, I am bending it over to place it now. I want it to be at the 3-inch mark, but normally I would have used the 4 inches, but I want it quite high. So at this 3-inch mark, I am notching it. Note that this 3-inch mark, I have sewn the shoulder, so if I didn't sew the shoulder, it would have been 3.5 inches. Now, I'm going to turn it over to your main fabric now. You are going to attach the sleeve to your main fabric. Now your sleeve, after piping it or sewing it, turn it like so out to the good side. Don't forget to notch your sleeve. Gather it up, right sides together, attach it to your main fabric. I've already done that and I'm going to sew my sleeve. After sewing, you sandwich your sleeve, tuck it in, only for the armhole to be showing. So you're going to tuck it in, right sides together. Make sure that your sleeve is totally out of your way. And place your lining over your sleeve and your main fabric. You can pin it in place to be sure everything is good. Now sew the armhole with your sleeves and wished in. After sewing this armhole, make sure to notch. Be careful not to cut the seam. Cut on the double part that is heavy. Then tuck your fabric inside. That's the open part that will house your zip. Tuck it in and pull it out on the other side. I feel as if I've done this in almost all my videos. Sewing for babies. Pull that out to reveal your sleeve. Now the sleeve is ready. Let's proceed to the other part of the bodice. Now to your belt, the back tie. Take a strip, mine 30-inch, that's 242 back tie. Fold it in half, that's 30-inch by 5-inch. When I fold it in half, I'm going to mark 2 inches here, that's 4 inches, so that by the time I finish sewing it will be 1.5 inches. At this end, I am slanting that out. So I will cut that slant out. I want my belt to be smaller at the beginning and slightly wider at the end. So now I am dividing my strip. So I will fold it over and sew. After sewing, I will turn it inside out and iron it. So for the front of my bodice, this is 4 inches strip by the size of my bodice. Place it on your main fabric, not on the main fabric and lining. Pin it in place and sew the side. So now my belt is ready. I will just pin my belt to my bodice as you have seen. Don't forget to leave seaming allowance on the bottom. So now, main fabric to main fabric, lining to lining, open it and place it like so. Pin it in place, take to your sewing machine and sew with your seaming allowance. Both sides. After sewing, it should look like so. So go ahead and cut the seam that connects the main fabric to the armhole. Don't cut the seam proper, just cut the excess fabric. Cut the excess fabric. This way your bodice will lie flat. There won't be any bulk there. Be careful not to cut your seaming your thread. So here my bodice is quite flat and the upper bodice or the bodice is ready. The upper part of the dress is ready. To the skirt, please pay attention to the skirt because it's very important. The skirt's length is dress length minus the bodice length. To your lining, you are going to subtract 2.5 inches from your skirt length. 2.5 inches for your skirt length, from your skirt length. Then the circumference or the width of this lining is your waist circumference plus 12 inches. And to your main fabric, you are going to add that 2.5 you took away from your lining piece to your main fabric. That's your skirt length plus 2.5 inches. This will help it to bubble out. Then the width of your outer fabric, that's your main fabric, should be 3.5 times your waist measurement. Please take note of this point. The reason you subtract a little from the lining and add a little to the outer fabric height is because you want it to create a bubble effect on the bottom of the skirt. Note this, very important. You can pause and have a look at it. This is my main fabric, 18 by 86 inches. I am going to gather one end of it nicely. Since it is sheer fabric, it's quite light, and organza, I have added a support to it. So now to the lining. This is double piece. I am marking out 1 inch like I did for the bodice. For my zip allowance, I fold it over. I'm going to put in the waist measurement, 6.5 inches, half inch seaming allowance. Then the length, my skirt length minus 2.5 inches. Mine is 13.5 inch. Now to my waist measurement, I have added 3 inches to my waist measurement to the skirt bottom. You can say 12 divided by 4, so it's almost the same thing, 3 inches. Then I've flat that out. I'm going up by half an inch, and I'm blending that to my skirt. So here I am cutting my lining piece out. After cutting, place right sides together, both the back and front, and sew with half inch seaming allowance. After sewing and I've gathered my main fabric, it's time to attach the main fabric and the skirt. The skirt bottom and the main fabric. So just make sure you pin it in place and sew with your half inch seaming allowance. I have finished sewing. When you finish sewing, it should look something like this. Go ahead and gather the other part of your main fabric. Make sure you gather it to match your waist measurement, as the waist measurement of your lining fabric. So here I have gathered it up. If it matches the waist measurement of my lining piece, it's going to match my bodice. So now right sides together, place your bodice main fabric to the main fabric, and the lining will go with the lining. Make sure it's right sides together, pin it in place like so. You can see right sides together. I've pinned the main fabric to the main fabric, the lining to the lining. I'm going to take to a sewing machine and sew with my half inch seaming allowance. After sewing, like you've seen, reach inside and turn it out, pull it out. Yeah, so now you've revealed your nice bubbled dress. You can see how nice it looks. So to seal up your bubble, it's time to attach your zipper. So I'm going to pull my fabric and arrange it properly. Notch at 11-inch mark, that's the length I want my zip to be. I'm going to attach my zip at this point. After attaching my zip, you can see my zip is attached, but the bottom part is still open. I'm going to turn to the lining, and my zip length plus 1 inch is what I'm going to measure on the lining piece. My zip length was 11 inches plus extra 1 inch, that's 12 inches. I'm going to measure 12 inches on the lining, and I will notch this part. That's both sides of my lining. Notching this part, I am going to go under my zip that I have attached in my main fabric. Tuck that in nicely, right sides together. Under the zip, I am going to complete this seam using my seaming allowance of 1 inch all the way to the lining, and I will stop at the notch part, leaving the other part open, leaving the 12 inch that I had marked out initially open. I'm going to sew this up. So here is what it looks like. I have sewn it up nicely, leaving this part open, so I will be able to pull out my dress and reveal the back of my dress. Just pulling out the dress, you need that opening. So to seal up this opening, to have a neat finishing, you are going to arrange your lining, fold it in and make sure you can even pin it in place. Make sure everything fits nicely. 1/4 inch from your zipper tooth, you are going to hand stitch it with your thread and needle all the way round. You're going to hand stitch it to your zip with thread and needle. So after hand stitching it, this is how the back looks. Quite neat. The finishing is quite neat, both on the outside and on the inside. This is why I said that is a detailed tutorial, because you need a nice finishing. You don't want anything hurting the little one. So here is it. The sleeve ready, everything ready. Please, if you have watched and you like the finishing, please do well to subscribe, because I have more sewing for babies videos coming up. Just for bonus, I am going to measure the length. The dress length I need is 23 inches, and here I have 23 inches. So please, now is the time to like, subscribe, and thank you for watching this video. Thank you for subscribing. Continue sewing till I see you in the next video. Bye for now.